Welcome, everyone. I know some of you have been to, getting a little feedback. Some of you have been to Spring Fling today. Jennifer was there earlier with John. They had a wonderful time. He even said he'd had enough, Mommy, it's time to go home. So she was able to come and be our greeter this evening. So welcome, everyone. It's a beautiful day, and we have Dr. Jack Turner with us, who will be speaking in a little while. A couple of things before we begin this evening. In your group of handouts, there is a handout from the Department of Theater and Dance at Converse University. Those of you who were here in January and were here for the Muppets, remember Meg, and she sent me this. The theater department is having a fundraiser Monday evening. This is the sheet right here. It is pretty explanatory. It's a play reading series. There will be 4 or 5 Ukrainian playwrights. They will be reading their plays as they have been translated. It is a fundraiser. Tickets are $13. 100% of the proceeds, as it says below, will go to emergency relief in Ukraine. So she asked me if I would share it, and I said absolutely. So if you can go, you can go online and get the tickets. It's pretty easy. Also, thanks to each and every one of you who continue to vote for STAR for best place of worship, even if we are listed in entertainment and leisure. I cannot tell you how many emails I have received from people wanting to know why we're in that category. Well, darn it, I don't know why. I truly don't. We moved from people and places to entertainment and leisure. I don't understand it, but I don't have to understand it. I just have to send out the reminders for y'all to vote. As we know, we're up against 3 of the larger congregations this year, but we're small, but we're mighty. So I hope that y'all will continue. We'll be voting today through Saturday, and it'll all be over then, so we'll see how it goes. But thanks for your perseverance. I send out about 75, I think there's 75 people in my announcements and my reminders, so they're going all over the world. So, we're introducing Spartanburg to the world, which is great. Yeah, there have been some issues getting on. Yesterday, I think it was overloaded. I received an email from someone in Boston who said it took her 4 tries, but she finally did get on. I know that some of you have had to it said you need to register. Les called and talked to them, and I'm not sure he got an adequate answer, but the bottom line is just register again, and you should be good to go. Yeah. Well, and now it's coming up again. So if you're finding that it is coming up and saying you need to register even though you've already registered, just register again, and then you should be good to go at that point. I think that's pretty much, that makes sense. That's what I think they told Les. So we'll just. Okay. Yeah. Well. Just be persistent. I know yesterday it took some people 3 and 4 tries, but I think that I don't understand computers as well as most of you, I'm sure, but I do know that I think they're asking a lot of people to use a very limited application, and sometimes it's like credit cards that won't work when you're in the grocery store or you're elsewhere. So thank you for your perseverance and your dedication. Really appreciate it. At this point in the service, if you have not had a chance to wash at the welcome altar, would be a wonderful opportunity to prepare ourselves for this space. So I would invite you now to go to the welcome altar. Just dip your fingers in the water. We're not using the sanitizer, and towels are there. And welcome. Will you join me in the call to prayer? We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirit seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your heart, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome, who are seekers to a new faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome, who enter this place as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are in journey, we bid you welcome. And now it's time to light the candles around the altar, blessing our time together. Will you join me? Our responsive prayer, blessing our time together. Creator God, we always ask before we thank, for we are asking creatures. We ask for love, and thank you for the love you have inspired in us. We ask to be closer to you, and thank you for our capacity to pray. We ask for your understanding, and thank you for bringing us the light of your presence. And thank you for the joy of life. We ask for strength. And thank you for the courage you have given us to hope. We ask for your presence, and thank you for living in our hearts. And we ask, and we have already received. Blessed be your name, O God, our Creator. Amen.
I have one brief announcement before I start my introduction. Sue reminded me to mention that please stay afterwards and enjoy refreshments, and that would be a good time if you have any questions for Dr. Turner. Water is the elixir of life, the nectar that sustains life on earth. But the ever-growing scarcity of drinkable water is an ever-increasing problem. Major cities and countries are facing crisis. And although 2/3 or 3/4 of the world is water, Coleridge had it right when he said, "Water, water everywhere, and not a drop to drink." We have not been good caretakers of our natural resources. And it behooves us to learn everything we can about what we can do as an individual, as a community, as a country. Tonight we have a gentleman with us who most of you know, it seems. Everybody's come up and talked to him. Dr. Jack Turner. He had finished a career at University of South Carolina upstate of 39 years, I believe he was there. A native of Colorado. He has been married to his wife Jane for 52 years. They have 2 accomplished daughters, and they have 2 grandchildren that I'm sure will be equally accomplished when they complete their growing up years. Jack has innumerable awards and serves on any number of committees. I won't bore you with the list, but he has been recognized statewide, citywide, and he's a commissioner with the Spartanburg Soil and Water Conservation, the Land Use Committee of the Comprehensive Plan for Spartanburg County, and he is the director of the Watershed Ecology Center. I personally think that may be his personal triumph. It is something he is very proud of, as he should be, and I think we're here tonight to learn what the I'm getting it wrong here. The Watershed Ecology Center does in Spartanburg County, and to see who participates and what's possible to learn. I'd like you to welcome Jack A. Turner.
That's all right. There's not much up here to see.
We may be small, but we be mighty.
Good. Well, I'd like to thank Carol for asking me to do this. This is probably,
Excuse me 1 minute. We need to have you use this because we have Zoomers who are with us and they can.
can I leave it here?
Yeah, you can. Great.
I'm not used to Zoomers.
They're over there.
Oh,
Catherine's handling that, so.
it's, I'm used to wandering when I lectured, I would have probably covered half of this room wandering around. So I will try to stay next to this little black thing. Very briefly, a little bit about me. I came to Spartanburg with my family in 1974 to a school that when I looked it up in the encyclopedia and on the maps and everything, and we didn't have Google back then, for those of you who said, well, go look it up on Google. We didn't have Google. I had the encyclopedia and a couple of maps, and I found about that much. I said, my goodness, where could this place be? And so when I accepted an interview possibility to come out here, I still didn't know where I was. When we came in 1974 from Oklahoma, I did my PhD work at the University of Oklahoma and moved to Spartanburg, South Carolina, to the University, what was it called? Spartanburg? Something. USC Spartanburg. And we started a small school. We had 2 levels. We had freshman and sophomore, and that's all. The next year, we went from 700 students to 800 students, and we could do junior level courses. And the following year, at 1,000, we could do senior level courses. At that point in time, as an ecologist, I had 4 classes, and I still had time to do a lot of exploring because I had never been here. My wife is from Baltimore. I don't think she ever got this far south. 2 small children, and we explored. Like all, well, I can't say that, but for like most of us, our dissertation was research. And so when I got here, I wanted to do something besides teach. I love students and I love teaching, but I needed something else. So for the first few years, I did forest ecology. I was instrumental starting something that became known as the Greenway for Spartanburg. There's a big green book. It's about that big. And by the early 1980s, it became pretty evident to me that Spartanburg, South Carolina was not interested in outdoors. I gave talks, and I had several of them that I sort of left sort of hurriedly because I figured I was going to get tarred and feathered. To think that people might be interested in that. So from the early 1980s to the early 1990s, I got involved with the industry in the state as a microbiologist. And I spent 10 years doing that. 1990 came along, and I was tired of mildew. That's what I did. I started a small research program. We did some water analysis. South Carolina DHEC had money. And if you're going to do research, you have to find somebody with money. That lasted up until about 1998. And I wrote a small grant to do some educational programs. I had some matching money from some local people. And I got a nice little letter from South Carolina DHEC saying, we're not interested in education. Okay. So at that point in time, we're 2001. And I went back to my funders and I said, look, I think education into the schools is the only way to go. They said, yeah, we think you're right. So they went ahead and gave me their matching money. I got about $3,200. I had a lady come and said, let me do your educational programs. And I said, fine. And I paid her. And that started our education program. A couple years later, we had to have a name. And it had to be associated with water. And it had to be associated with watersheds. And I'm going to explain what a watershed is in a couple of seconds. But it didn't take me long to get money. The first year, we contacted about 3,000 kids with about $3,500. And that was exciting. Our goal was to teach children, school-age children. I can come up with a program to teach adults. I also can put them to sleep pretty quick. With kids, with elementary school kids, you do a lot of entertaining. But as part of that entertainment, they will remember what you teach them. Because it's not like the teacher. In my classes, we have fun. So we have gone from about, 3,800 kids. The year before the pandemic, isn't it amazing? Everything now is pre-pandemic, and maybe, hopefully, after pandemic. Nah, I don't believe it. Don't believe it for a minute. The year, 2 years, 3 years ago, we were on the road to contact 26,000 kids with watershed education. At the center today, I have 5, that many, part-time teachers. They are teachers who have retired. And the thing that I talk to them about is, 1, you don't have bus duty. 2, you don't have lunchroom duty. 3, you don't have to listen to whiny parents. 4, you don't have to give exams. The thing you have to do is have fun and teach the kids something. Our programs, we have 56 different programs. They meet state standards. They're grade specific. So a kindergarten program is not at all like a 6th grade program. I can do, for most grades, we have at least three different programs that we do. Now, the only requirement is that they've got to be related to water. And if you can come up with a program that cannot be related to water, great. We try not to do that, because we want them to understand at the end of the day that this one resource is their lifeblood. Now, I think there probably is enough. There's a sheet with a blue and for those of you that are going to look at this and squint real hard and say, well, you know, I can't even see that. And if you go down through all of those things, they'll tell you a little bit about what we do. We are mostly privately funded. To about 6 or 8 years ago, we were completely privately funded. And I wore out my knee pads begging for money from anybody. And one of the former chancellors we had said, well, where do you get all your money? I said, I have a little tin cup, and I stand down by the chamber building on the street, and I shake it as cars go by. He said, no, you don't. I said, yeah. Some days that's what I feel like. My budget is slightly more than $100,000 a year. And 2/3 of that is all privately funded. And I don't use a tin cup. Tin cups aren't big enough. But at this point in time, we're pretty well funded. When the pandemic came along, all of a sudden, we couldn't get into schools. If I can't get into schools, my teachers can't teach. So a young man, and just to kind of show you how things happen, this young man and his wife were students one summer in one of my classes. And being a good teacher, I put those two together in a lab. And then I took an acetylene torch and I welded them together because they never left. When John retired, Allison had already retired. John was a whiz bang with a computer and videotaping. So we started videotaping all of our programs. All the toys that go with our program, we put in a big Ziploc bag and we'd take it to the school. And the teacher became our hands, and for 2 years, we did everything virtually. We did about 13,000 kids. This year, we're going to be back up to 20,000. Next year, it'll be probably about 22 to 23,000. But we get our bang for our bucks when we walk into a classroom. And when you walk into a school and the whole third grade class says, "Hey, Watershed is here." So we enjoy what we do. We have 2 other programs that we do, and I'll be really brief. We run an Adopt a Stream program. For those of you that have been around a while and remember Adopt a Highway, this is Adopt a Stream. We give you the toys and teach you how to use them to do water analysis. So you become a citizen water sampler. We've got it set up, we can record your data. Anybody can look at that data. We also have a rain barrel giveaway program. It's free. And we teach you how to put it together. The only requirement to put it together is you need a drill. The only other requirement you need is you have to be a resident of Spartanburg County, because they're the ones that are funding the barrels. I'm going to stop because I've killed enough time, and I'd like to have some questions. Yeah.
20,000 students, that's an amazing number. And it seems like just by the very nature of the way it's presented, you're cultivating stakeholders. 5%, 2%, 5% that become stakeholders in their own particular community, their watershed, their streams, rivers, which is an amazing phenomenon where all the kids are getting transferable discipline and knowledge that goes anywhere. But I would imagine the nature of the programs that you're setting up that are sort of tangential to the educational mission, that you're cultivating a sense of ownership and stakeholdingship among kids that, are asking my stream versus just an intellectual discipline and abstraction. I think it is. So do you have any sense of what a teacher, or even frame a goal that way?
One of the things that we've wanted to do, and this is, education is a strange process. I can measure, you can take my class, and I can give you an exam. and I can say, you got 5 right, you missed 2. We can't do that with the kids. But what we find in a sort of an abstract way is they take that little bit of information home. And we hear from the parents about this. And that's, from our vantage point, that makes all the difference in the world. Now, we can't, well, I could set programs up and have you, and I can do the adopt a stream thing, and I can teach you a lot in a couple hours. But if I gave you all of the facts, and by the way, should be everybody's sheet, water facts. The kids will remember these longer than you will.
That just seems like that's a cultural change that's accelerating with the kid because the parents pay attention. That's just brilliant.
I hate to interrupt, but I think after service conversation, we get a lot of questions. I know I have questions. And if you receive the service, then stay for refreshments, Jane and Jeff. And you can talk to either individually or resident.
Okay. And I think that's my hint to sit down, shut up. Carol asked me if I would do this a year ago and reminded me every probably 3 or 4 weeks that I had agreed because she wanted to know. Okay.
Thank you.
Because this is a call to community service, one of 3 or 4 that STAR sponsors each year, we are grateful that Jack was with us on this Earth Day celebration, and it's wonderful to learn what is happening within our community and how our community responds and relates to various needs, to various concerns. I know I have some questions, I'm sure others will, but as we move forward in this service, I know that there are other joys, there are other concerns that we need to share, to bring forward, just as the pebbles dropping into our vases filled with water will bubble up to the surface. These are our prayers being shared in the world. My concern as I listen to Jack is that, and also for what Carol had to say, that water is the elixir of life, and we haven't been the best stewards of it, but how joyful I am and thankful that there are children out there learning and taking this home. So that is a joy and concern. We certainly have joys and concerns at other corners of the world, and now I would invite you to join me as we share our joys and our concerns.
have a political joy to share with you, and that is that Macron has won the French election.
Will you join me as we sing All Shall Be Well? all shall be well. All shall be well. All manner of things shall be well. All shall be well. Our offering this evening, a portion of it, has been designated for the Watershed Ecology Center. Jack, honoring you for sharing this time with us this evening. I'm going to invite Jennifer to grab one of the stars. Is there someone else that we could get? Bill will grab a star, and we're going to pass them around. And as they're going around, I want to thank some folks this evening. Catherine, our Zoom director, we're always thrilled to have her with us, because then we can share who we are well beyond this place. A thank you to Jennifer, who was our greeter. Also to David and Emily, our tea preparers and tea servers, and Carol McCullough, who helped coordinate the service, and also to Sandra, because she always has wonderful goodies for us after the service, and we look forward to it. Thanks to each and every one of you for your contribution, your time, your talent, and of course your treasure. We are most grateful. Once again, will you join voices with me as we sing Ubi Caritas? Ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi est. Live in charity and steadfast love. Live in charity. God will dwell with you. Would everyone please stand for the invocation of the four directions?
Good evening. Grandfather, Great Spirit, you have always been, and before you no one has been. There is no other prayer to pray but to you. You yourself, everything that you see, everything has been made by you. The star nation all over the universe you have finished. The four quarters of the earth you have finished. This evening we invoke the Great Spirit Wankantaka, the great mystery, to be present in our hearts and minds. The Holy One is present in all things, and all things are present in her. We are reminded that every day is Earth Day, and that all the lands are holy lands. Our Mother the Earth invites us to sit upon her, and that it is good for us to let our skin touch her skin. We burn sage, which grows upon her flesh to invite healing to our hurts, and to help us remember the infinite shapes of the divine living among us. Listen, and you can hear your dear mother's heartbeat. Her blood flows through us and all living things. The buffalo drum lets us hear her heartbeat, which is ours as well. We live because she lives. The flute sings the song of the wind and speaks in a language only our heart understands. This is how we are healed. This is how we love and heal the many hurts we have brought upon our dear mother. Never has our Mother the Earth been so lovely, nor the sun, our brother, so bright as today. Facing to the east.
The grandmothers and grandfathers of the East want us to remember that our sister, water, and her many children, the rivers and streams, ponds and lakes, and the great big water, the ocean, Provide for us and bring us life-giving and sustaining water. Altogether, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. What befalls the earth befalls the sons and the daughters of the earth. The goodness of creation invites us to remember we were born to love and be loved by our dear mother.
Facing to the south. The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the South want us to treat the earth well. She tells us that as we walk upon the sacred earth, treat each step as a prayer. Altogether, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. What befalls the earth befalls the sons and the daughters of the earth. The goodness of creation invites us to remember we were born to love and be loved by our dear mother. Quarter turn to the right, facing to the west.
The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the West invite us to visit the Holy Land, where the Christ is born in us every moment, every day. Our mother, the earth, is the Holy Land and has given birth to us many times before and will again. Altogether, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. What befalls the earth befalls the sons and the daughters of the earth. The goodness of creation invites us to remember we were born to love and be loved by our dear mother.
Quarter turn to the right, facing to the north. The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the north remind us to listen to the sweet songs of the spring birds. Listen carefully. They are singing a love song as old as time. Truly, we live with mysteries too marvelous to be understood. Altogether, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. What befalls the earth befalls the sons and the daughters of the earth. The goodness of creation invites us to remember we were born to love and be loved by our dear mother. Facing to the center.
The grandmothers of the center space want us to see the goodness of creation in every person in and out of this circle. We are thankful to be part of a community that invites us to see our mother, the earth, as a living and life-giving presence in our lives. Let us use the sacred and let us see the sacred in all things. Altogether, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. What befalls the earth befalls the sons and the daughters of the earth. The goodness of creation invites us to remember we were born to love and be loved by our dear mother. Namaste.
going to invite Carol to extinguish our community candle as we join our voices together in the closing prayer. And though we extinguish our community candle, we do not extinguish the warmth of community, the spirit of gratitude, the fire of commitment, and our shared compassion during this time together as community. The light of hope, hope for change that brings new blessings into our lives and the lives of those around us, remains and will continue to burn brightly. We carry the light of hope in our hearts until we are together again. Amen. If you'll please stand, we're going to sing. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround us everywhere, everywhere we may go. Until we meet again on May the 8th, and I think you will all want to be with us. We have some interesting folks who are going to be speaking to us about what it is to be a maker. So, on that note, go now in peace, head to the back table. Let's let Jack and Jane get back there. We have questions for them. Thank you for spending this time with us this evening.